Tom Luginbill is with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline, with us courtesy of ATIX, AAATix.com. Big game at Auburn, big game at Alabama, Arkansas, and Kentucky coming to town at both places. You're home for tickets for those games. ATIX, 822-7382. What is up, Lugs? How are you?
I'm doing good, guys. Happy New Year to y'all.
Yeah, you too. Always good to talk with you. I mean, let's start there because this does appear to be a potentially combustible mix. Two guys that have liked to do it their own way and don't mind butting heads over the years.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't think Jimbo had any choice. He had to make this move, and he had to do it with somebody that he can completely walk away from it and trust that it will be done right. Trust that it will be coached up. I mean, this is a tried and true, proven offensive system for decades. It's produced outstanding college quarterbacks. It's a great balance between run and pass. And so I think from Jimbo Fisher's perspective, he needed to get to a point where he can get back to leading the program, not the offense. Get back to being the head coach of the program, not the head coach of the offense. And while this on the surface may look like two combustible, combative type A personalities, which I think they are, but it might have needed to be that way because I think he needs to be able to walk away from it and not wonder if he made the right choice or if it's going to get done right. He'll know it because if you can say what you want about Bobby Petrino, but the guy can coach some football. And again, his offenses are tried and true.
You know, Luginbill, I said this, and it might not be fair, it might not be realistic, but if I'm an A&M fan, coming off 5-7, I don't care. Next year is got to be our year. And I look at Sonny Dykes in year one at TCU. He's playing for a national championship. Lincoln Riley was a game away from being in a college football playoff. Brian Kelly had LSU where A&M's never been before. This is year 6. I am sick of the excuses. Is this roster good enough to flip around and win 11 or 12 games next year?
It should be if they can stay healthy. I do think that they've got the talent on board. The question is the talent on board because of what Texas A&M can do for them or what they can do for Texas A&M? As we talk recruiting and we know name, image, and likeness is a big part of this deal. You know, how invested are these players in turning Texas A&M into a champion? They've had 2 10-win seasons since 1998. 2. One of them was in 98. One of them was in 2012. So until proven otherwise, I don't care what their recruiting classes look on paper. The proof in the pudding has to come through performance. And I heard a lot of people a year ago, I was one of them, that said, stop looking at this recruiting class and thinking it's going to just come and light the world on fire. But it's the next 2 years after that. The issue with that is nobody saw a 5-7 season coming in between. And that's what was inexcusable, and that's what's led to the conversation we're having right now.
I'm interested. Do you think the offensive game has passed Bobby Petrino by?
No, not Bobby Petrino. No, I don't. I think if anything, he proved that he could evolve and shift when he decided to target Lamar Jackson. I mean, that was a quarterback prospect that was unlike anything else he'd ever played with. He'd always played with stationary guys that were going to be pure pocket throwers. And then all of a sudden, he starts looking around. He's seeing the landscape change. He's seeing how difficult it is for his own defenses to stop these guys that've got these athletic dual threat quarterbacks. So he went out and got himself one. You got to give him a lot of credit for that. That's actually something Jimbo hasn't done. They haven't gone and become this, zone read, RPO heavy team with an athletic quarterback. So who knows? Maybe that's something that'll change in the future too.
Tom Luginbill is with us, courtesy of ATIX, AAATix.com, 822-7382. Go see Bama, Kentucky, Auburn, Arkansas, with tickets from ATIX. That's your ticket into those venues. AAATix.com, 822-7382. Loogs is with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. I want to move to one more coaching move in the Southeastern Conference. And I ask you this for this reason. Tennessee has promoted their quarterbacks coach, Joey, I think it's Halzel. I'm not familiar with him, but he's been with Josh Heupel.
Hazel.
Okay, Hazel, so the L silent. Hazel. He's been with Heupel for 15 years. But this is, if they continue this level of success, Tennessee fans will be thrilled. But it's also going to mean people are going to start rating that staff for the offensive coordinator. How I guess tricky is it for Heupel to always, even though he's going to be calling the plays and it's his offense, but always have the guy in that position that you trust?
Well, yeah, you start running out of them, right? So now if you're going to replace another staff member, you're going to try and go out and bring somebody else off of your tree that maybe was at Baylor or maybe was at Ole Miss or, something of the like, where the offensive system has the same foundation. Now you're going to want to bring that guy in, whether he's an analyst, whether he's a position coach, to maybe be the next in line if you continue this run of sound, explosive offensive play. And so I like the move, though, because I think it maintains continuity. There's familiarity, not just in coaching on the field, but in recruiting and within the office. I think that's really, really important from a personality perspective. Things remain the same. And, he's earned the opportunity to move into that role. And as you referenced, Josh Heupel is going to continue to call the plays. But now you're right. If you get good on offense, everybody wants to get a taste of it. Everybody wants to see, hey, what are these guys doing? We should go over and hire that guy. So then who's going to be your next guy? And be interesting to see who else he adds to that staff.
So you were there, Sugar Bowl, and I think you made the comment that it looks like Alabama has maybe found this young core of wide receivers. Going into next year, look, and Burton had maybe his best game, and you saw what Ja'Cory Brooks can do, and Prentice and Isaiah Bond had a touchdown grab. But is there a guy, if you're trying to find one of those guys that can be a Devontae Smith, a Jerry Jeudy, a Henry Ruggs, a Jamison Williams, is there one of those guys that you would say that could separate themselves from the others?
Potentially Kendrick Law. I think Kendrick Law is the potential Jalen Waddle of the group. Now, between Bond, Law, and Kobe Prentice, what you don't have that we've traditionally seen over the last 16 years is a lot of size. All those guys are kind of 5'10-ish, 5'10 and a half, a little bit in a different mold. But all three of those guys are really explosive. They can really run. You're right about Ja'Cory Brooks. He's going to be fine. Aaron Anderson leaving was a big deal because that guy had a chance to be a really, really good player. But I'll say this, guys, watching them in practice in the Sugar Bowl, watch out for their junior college transfer. He was our number one ranked junior college transfer at wideout. He is giving their defense fits. Now, he couldn't play in the game, but he practiced all throughout the bowl prep. I think he's going to be a guy, and he does have size, that's going to come along and add an entirely different dimension that they were lacking this year with this football team.
Boy, that's interesting. That's like the old flip phone and hard landline phones. You're going JUCO.
JUCO transfer.
JUCO transfer.
Yeah.
That's so 1990s, man. I like that, Luginbill.
I know. Hey, here I am, 1993, JUCO transfer.
hey, who's going to be the quarterback before Dunaway?
Well, that's what I was going to talk about,
sorry.
the young quarterbacks that are coming. Go ahead and finish the question.
No, I'm
who's the next guy out?
I think it is fascinating when you go from Bryce Young. Obviously, there's going to be a drop-off. Bryce Young, arguably the most talented quarterback in the program's history. But who do you feel like that guy is going to be? And is it going to be one guy for 12 regular season games?
Personally, I think it's going to be Ty Simpson. Now, folks aren't going to want to hear this, and the young man's not going to want to hear this, but Jalen Milroe is pound for pound maybe one of the best overall athletes on that entire roster. I'm just not so sure he could actually play quarterback with what they want to do in the passing game. But he could play tailback. He could play safety. He could probably play wide out. He could be a jack of all trades type of player. I think the competition will be stiff, but ultimately I think Ty Simpson will be the guy that they end up going to. Now they're bringing Dylan Lonergan and Eli Holstein both in, our 4th and 5th ranked quarterback in last year's class. So the depth is going to be certainly upgraded, but it's going to be very interesting to see as they start to get through spring football and start to really chart every throw, chart every progression, every read, every pre-snap assessment, how that competition ends up unfolding, because at the end of the day, Ty Simpson is just a more natural passer than Jalen Milroe is.
Yeah, I got two quick questions. One is on that, because I think this washes over a lot of people around the country that Milroe, but Ty Simpson really highly rated in your rating services. Two more top 5 quarterbacks coming in this class. So you have 4 guys, highly rated quarterbacks. I would imagine that's got to be your philosophy now, that you've got to be thick-skinned enough that you're going to recruit all the quarterback talent, knowing that there's a good chance that 1, 2, maybe even 3 of those guys end up transferring out. That's the world we live in, right?
Absolutely. It's almost becoming impossible to keep 2 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster at the same time. And so what you love to see, if you're Nick Saban or you're Bill O'Brien or whoever it is, you love to see 2 quarterbacks willing to battle, willing to compete. Most of these quarterbacks are looking for the easy road. They're looking for the leanest depth chart. Where can I come in and play right away? These 2 guys are looking at it as, where can I come in and learn and grow and develop? Red shirt, which I think is really important. Red shirt, compete and battle. And yeah, inevitably one's going to go, but that player is going to be better off. And then the one that sticks around is obviously going to be the guy that eventually will likely be your guy. But boy, it is hard to keep your quarterback room from being depleted in today's world.
I'll make a September 2nd prediction here for you right now. There will not be a true number 1 named for the first game against Middle Tennessee. He'll let that battle go in there all the way between 2 quarterbacks, all the way through the camp.
I think that's fair.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. And you know what? And I'm not saying you get as decisive as Jim Harbaugh did, but you say, okay, let's get the live bullets flying by. Let's see who performs, right? Let's see who goes out there, manages the offense, moves the football team, gets first downs, gets the ball into the end zone. When it's not managed by us, you're not in a red jersey, all those sorts of things.
Okay. Now, my other question was about the Under Armour All-Star game you were at. Make some fan base happy. Who was the one guy that just wowed you, and you got there and you'd seen him on tape and you'd seen him maybe briefly in person in a broadcast or something, but you get there and you watch the practice, you hear about the practices, you watch the game, and you go, oh my goodness, such and such has got to steal?
Peter Woods at Clemson, which Alabama fans aren't going to like to hear that because he's an in-state kid, nor will Auburn fans. And I would say Zachariah Branch out of Bishop Gorman that's going to USC. He's special. He's got a chance to be an absolute difference maker, a lot like a Dory Jackson was coming out of high school. I think when we always take that week, and the game is one thing. The game's fluff. It is what it is. But it's the week leading to the game that's where you gather the most information. That's where you see how kids respond, how they reply, how do they interact with each other, how do they respond to getting their tail kicked. Like, it's for many of them, it's the first time they've ever had to line up, and to the left or right or in front of them, there's somebody that might be better than they are. And what do they do when it doesn't go their way? And at the end of the week, guys, invariably, for the most part, not 100%, of course, but I could line up all of these guys each and every year. I'll go, that guy will make it. That guy won't make it. That guy should make it. He might make it. That guy won't make it. That guy's definitely going to make it. And it has nothing to do with talent. It's always something else. Something as simple as, this guy cannot show up on time to meetings. This guy, for whatever reason, has not been to the bus on time one time. This guy has not responded well to coaching. I mean, there's so many variables that go into this that has nothing to do with athletic traits that will determine ultimately whether these kids are successful or not.
Dunaway is one of the more prominent Thompson graduates. Do you think it's his fault Peter Woods did not go to Alabama?
Unfortunately, I bet you Peter Woods does not know who Jim is.
Yeah, no, that is true. That is true. And I went to 2 of his games this year and one last year. Every time I'm there, though, he is a non-factor in the game.
Wow, Dunaway.
He gets blocked up really well.
Look at Dunaway. Yeah,
non-factor.
Yeah, that's because he's going to Clemson. If he was going to Alabama,
I'm not saying I shied the coaching staff away from him. I just never saw him make a big play.
Luginbill, national championship Monday night. I think it's going to be a bloodbath. But can TCU win this game by scoring less than 35 points?
I don't think so. This is one of those games where they're just so outmanned. They're going to have to do everything right. They're going to need help. I don't know how. My only concern is that TCU, they're tied for the 5th most plays of 50 yards or more of anybody in college football since 2004. They've been ripping off explosive plays at a huge clip. And guess what? Georgia's given up some explosive plays. And they've been a bit leaky. So if they can have an answer for a long drive that Georgia may be able to sustain and stay in it and kind of linger, then maybe it could be something that's intriguing in the second half. But this is the world TCU's lived in all year long, guys. I mean, they win one possession games, they play from behind, they play in overtime, and they've won on the road. I mean, they've done all the things that coaches tell you have to do to win a championship. The problem is they're just so outmanned top to bottom across the board that I think they're going to need Georgia to help them a lot.
All right, Luginbill is about to reintroduce himself to his family over the next few days, and then he's going to be back with us next Thursday, a week from today.
He's already started. He's got 2 buttons there that he's not using. A couple of them right there. He's reintroducing that upper chest hair to the family.
I'm waiting for my wife to come home. You know, let's go.
Kids are back in school.
He's about to get attacked.
Kids are back in
Well, one of my kids back to school. The other ones, you guys know, my daughter just had surgery on the 3rd, so they're coming home from the hospital tomorrow. I can't wait to see them.
Yeah.
It's like a NASCAR pit crew. You already got one of those lug nuts loosened up there, man. That button's already loosened up.
Oh, yeah, dude. Hey, I don't want anybody to have to do any extra work. Seamless transition.
I was going to say 1 week from today, Luginbill will be back with us, and we'll go heavy into the movie streaming show recommendations. Is that good by you, Loogs?
Let's do it.
All right. 1 week from today.
Culture.
1 week from today. Thank you, Loogs. Always good talking with you.
All right. Take care, guys. Happy New Year.
All right, buddy. You too. Tom Luginbill with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. He joins us courtesy of ATIX. Listen, with Alabama coming to Kentucky, with Arkansas coming to Auburn, those are some tough tickets this weekend. ATIX gets you in those venues, and you can trust them to do it. 822-7382, 822-7382. Call Dan and Steve and the gang there at ATIX and tell them, hey, listen, the next round said you can get me in Coleman, you can get me in Neville Arena. Let's see what we got, man. 822-7382, AAATix.com.